We're gonna make pasta using the well method again. Then we're gonna roll this out. Either make agnolotti or there's Kalen. Either agnolotti or ravioli. Just depends on when I get there. But this will undoubtedly be better than Jim's that he made yesterday because he sucks. There's 2 whole eggs, 3 egg yolks, and it's a well of about 2 to 3 cups of flour. Basically just whisking. There's a big pinch of salt in there too. Whisk up the eggs in the well. Try not to break containment on the well itself. And you're just slowly whisking, bringing in some flour as we go. It eventually gets a little thicker and turns into a dough, and then you can kind of start messing with it. See, it becomes a little hard to whisk as you kind of hit the edges. Just bring that in there. Oh. Yeah. So come in a little bit there. Almost getting that point. We're going to start using our hands. A little drier. Alright, so we're at the point, we're just going to start kneading. A little too much for a fork. Just bring in flour. It's going to take as much flour as it needs just to create the egg. That's why this recipe is actually making pasta super easy. Is you literally don't even have to measure. If you have like 2 eggs and just a cup of flour, you can just toss it in there and start making. But I'm just going to start kneading slowly until it comes together. Then I'm going to start kneading out the dough a little more. There we go. So here's the ball of dough. Just put it in a little disc. After a couple kneading, it comes together. Wrap in some saran wrap and just let it sit on the countertop for like 1 to 2 hours before we start using it. So we'll start going ahead and making our filling. A little dry, a little too much, but that's all right. This is like the first thing I ever learned how to do in the kitchen at Old Cellini's. We used to make this. My dad, while he was prepping everything, he literally used to have me just make pasta just to occupy my time so I could make lunch. That was like the first thing I ever learned how to do. I made it like all the time when I was like 8 years old. So see what comes out after this. So for the meat filling for the raviolis, we're gonna do actually beef and cheese version. Let's start in the beef. This is actually deer meat, venison, thanks to our friends Eugene and Amanda. And added this to thyme, rosemary, and sage, a little bit of garlic powder and salt. I'm actually going to cook a little bit of it off, and the rest of the half I'm going to actually make breakfast sausage. So I'm only going to use like half of this, but it's probably a pound or so, and then like multiple big sprigs, probably like half a cup each of each herb. It's a lot of herbs, but I kind of want it flavorful since it's being ground up. The meat filling. This is just that deer meat from earlier, ricotta, parmesan, and an egg. I'm actually just using the egg whites because I have egg whites left over from everything else. I might need to put an actual egg yolk in there, but I'm just trying to be as resourceful as possible. I'll just blend this up to make it like a little finer so it actually goes in the ravioli a little better. All right, so I'm making the cheese filling for the ravioli / agnolotti, whatever I make. Just have ricotta cheese, probably like 2 cups, then like a quarter to a half a cup of Parmesan, some parsley, probably like quarter to a half a cup, and then 2 egg yolks. Just gonna whisk that together. It's kind of a way to bind it. The eggs kind of bind it, and then it's just nice cheesy. Some people don't put parsley, but my dad always did that, so that's what I do. All right, so it's rested about a couple hours. Now it's nice and soft and kind of relaxed, all that gluten relaxed. We're just gonna throw some table flour on, roll this out using this guy. We're gonna start up at the highest one, or the thickest, and then just slowly progress down until we go about as thin as possible. That way it's kind of nice, light ravioli that we're making. And we'll go from there. All right. Just kind of make a little disc. Should be on the highest one. Just catch it on the back side coming down. There we go. I'm actually going to fold this over again. Run it through like this. Just kind of get even coverage. There we go. Just kind of evens it out. Just catch it down the bottom side. much in there. Should I do this? Push it over. All right, so I filled the meat mixture into a bag and basically just gonna pipe it out in little sections. Give a little distance between the two. We'll just put a little there. All right. So this is just egg wash. These are egg whites that are left over from the actual pasta itself. It's just a little water. It's a little egg wash. Just going around so they kind of stick in place when the pasta actually curls over. There. All right. I'm just gonna take these over. Just kind of flip the pasta over onto itself. I'm going to press down around the little pockets of meat, just so there's no air in there. If there's a little bit of air, it might explode as they're baking, because the air is going to expand as the heat comes around. Just go around like this. This is very free form because I don't have a ravioli machine. There we go. Take a cup because I don't have a cutter. And we'll just go around. There we go. Nice little half moon ravioli. Just gonna keep going from there. There we go. Cutting. Oop, that was a little close to the cuff, but where are you going?
Work.
There we go. That was a little janky, but what are you gonna do? It's still gonna taste good. So I finished making the ravioli. Kind of messed up. The cheese, like the ricotta cheese, was too loose, so it didn't really work in the ravioli itself. But the meat filling actually worked out pretty well. Kind of hit my stride a little later after that video, after I was messing up, because I haven't made pasta in multiple years. But these turned out actually all right. So I'm gonna freeze them overnight on a sheet tray, and then we'll cook them tomorrow. See what they taste like. Making a quick marinara for the raviolis. Just got a pot of water boiling. Chopped up a bunch of garlic, kind of like slivers, maybe a little bit chopped. Heat up some oil. I'm gonna get pretty hot because I want to get some color on the garlic to get like different variations of like flavor aspects out of the garlic itself. So if it's a really hot pan, it'll like kind of burn some, keep some raw, and get a little different variations. It's really simple marinara. So I actually diverted. There's some basil leaves in the package that were kind of brown and gross. So I'm actually just going to fry those and bring them up the oil. Get a nice little basil base kind of coated throughout. Now it's getting a little hotter. These are starting to pop, so I'm going to add a nice big chunk of garlic. There we go. Just heaping through, maybe a little more. Just going to let that fry. Hopefully get some color on it. I'm going to add a pinch of red pepper flakes. Not too much because Caitlin doesn't like them, but just a little bit, just going to season it. So some of these are getting a little fried. There's a little more raw. That's kind of what I want. It's not like a uniform. I think it gives a good texture to the marinara. So I'm going to do that. Toss in some tomatoes. Yeah. Oh shit. This is passata. Again, it's just pureed tomatoes. No seeds, no skins. And just let it simmer. I'm going to add a bay leaf in there as well. And just let this bad boy simmer for just about 10-15 minutes. And we'll reheat it back up when we throw in the raviolis. Bay leaf. Giant bay leaf. It's about 20-30 minutes simmering. Salt. Just kind of gets that acidy, like tomato flavor out, just kind of a little bit, but you still want it fresh and bright. And then I added some fresh, off the heat once it's done, added fresh basil, chiffonade in there just to keep it fresh and bright. Because that's a goal of marinara. It's like the opposite of a ragu, where you get that deep, rich, all day long flavor. Marinara is supposed to be bright, fresh, and like tomatoey and basil-y. All right, so here's the frozen. Again, I froze them on a sheet tray. They're frozen. I'm going to pop a bunch of these in boiling water, transfer some sauce into a saucepan, just because I want to finish it in there and just a little better surface area. Actually, let me turn that on. Whoops. Throw on medium. By the time these are finished, we'll probably be done. And then we'll finish it off with some parm. And we should be good to go. Also, Caitlin was so generous, made a French 75 for us. We actually finally used the recipe from like a year ago, 2 years ago, from Violet Hour when we did our cocktail. And so we have French 75s. All right, say a little prayer to the pasta gods that these things don't pop open. Actually, they stay together, which is good. Basically, just the meat and the filling in there is actually cooked, so we're just going to wait till they start to float like this, kind of get chill off, and just transfer these into the marinara. Turn it down, so I'll just turn up the heat a little more. Should work out perfectly because they'll just float to the top. All right, so add a little marinara to this, and we should be good to go. And we'll just toss that open. So, like I said, just finish them up in the pan with the sauce, and then nice little bowl with a Parmesan hailstorm. Nice coated ravioli.